Have you ever studied English 4 months, understood the grammar, memorized the vocabulary, but when someone says, "Hi, how is it going?" your mind goes completely blank? If that sounds like you, this episode is exactly what you need.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Emily. It's great to be back with all of you. Today we're diving into something super practical and honestly incredibly helpful for anyone learning English, especially beginners.
Absolutely, Emily. We're talking about real-life English conversations, those easy dialogues that really bridge the gap between knowing grammar rules and actually speaking the language.
Exactly. You know, when I first started learning a new language, I felt like I knew a lot of words and I understood the grammar structure pretty well. But when it came to actually having a conversation, my mind just went blank. It was like, help, where do I even start?
Oh, I totally get that. It's like you have all the ingredients, but you don't know how to cook the meal. And that's where these easy English dialogues come in, right? They give you a recipe.
A perfect recipe. And not just any recipe, but a recipe for everyday situations. Because let's be real, most of us aren't having philosophical debates on our first day of speaking English. We're trying to order a coffee, ask for directions, or introduce ourselves.
Right? Imagine trying to explain quantum physics when you just want to say, "Can I have a latte, please?" It's a bit much. So what do you think makes these specific easy dialogues so effective for beginners?
Well, I think the real-life aspect is key. They're not just random sentences, they put you in a context. For example, a dialogue about going to a restaurant, or checking into a hotel, or even just making small talk about the weather.
That's such a good point. Context is everything. It helps you understand not just the words, but also the cultural nuances, the tone, the typical flow of a conversation in that specific situation.
And they often introduce common phrases and idioms that native speakers use all the time, but you might not find in a grammar textbook. Things like, "How's it going?" instead of always, "How are you?"
Yeah, exactly. How's it going is so common, but if you're only learning formal structures, you might miss it. So let's talk about how someone, a beginner listener, can actually use these dialogues to their best advantage. What's step one?
Okay, step one, in my opinion, is just to listen. Listen actively. Don't try to understand every single word at first. Just try to get the gist of the conversation. Who are the speakers? What's the situation? What's the overall topic?
Right, like getting the overall melody before you try to pick out individual notes. That makes sense. And then what?
Then, listen again, but this time, try to focus on individual sentences or phrases, maybe even repeat them out loud after the speakers. This is where you start to work on your pronunciation and intonation. You want to sound natural, not robotic.
That's huge, intonation. English has its own musicality, doesn't it? The way we raise our voice for questions, or lower it to show finality. It's not just about the words, it's about the rhythm of speech.
Totally. And then, once you're comfortable listening and repeating, try role-playing. If you have a friend who's also learning, that's fantastic. You can take turns being speaker A and speaker B. If not, you can literally talk to yourself in the mirror. It sounds silly, but it works.
Oh, absolutely. I've done that so many times when practicing a presentation or just trying to get my thoughts straight. It helps you build muscle memory for your mouth and tongue, you know? It's not just a mental exercise.
Exactly. And don't just stick to the script. Once you're comfortable, try changing a few details. If the dialogue is about ordering coffee, try ordering tea, or a different kind of coffee. Personalize it. This forces your brain to be flexible and adapt.
That's a fantastic advanced beginner tip right there. It moves you from just memorizing to actually creating with the language. What about vocabulary? How do these dialogues help with that?
They introduce vocabulary and context, which is so much more effective than just memorizing lists. When you hear, "Could I get a refill?" in a restaurant dialogue, you instantly understand what refill means and when you'd use it.
And it makes the words stick better, I think, because they're tied to a memory of a situation, not just an isolated definition. It's like building a mental picture.
Exactly. So if you're using a series like 50 real-life English conversations for beginners, you're going to encounter so many different scenarios. Think about common ones: introductions, shopping, asking for directions, going to the doctor, talking about hobbies, making plans.
Those are all situations we face every single day, no matter where we are in the world. And if you're traveling or living in an English-speaking country, these are absolutely essential.
They are. I remember once I was in Italy, and I had learned all these complex grammatical structures, but when I just wanted to ask where the nearest bus stop was, I froze. If I had practiced simple asking for directions dialogues, I would have felt so much more confident.
Oh, absolutely. The fear of making a mistake can be paralyzing, right? Especially when you're a beginner. But these dialogues provide a safety net. You've heard it, you've practiced it, so it feels more natural when you actually have to say it.
It builds confidence, which is half the battle in language learning. The more you speak, even to yourself, the less scary it becomes.
And it also helps with listening comprehension, which is often overlooked when people are so focused on speaking. If you can understand what's being said in a natural conversation, that's a huge step.
It really is, because real conversations aren't always perfectly clear or slow. People mumble, they speak quickly, they interrupt each other. Dialogues, especially ones designed for beginners, often simplify this a bit, but they still retain a natural flow.
So, let's say someone is just starting out with these dialogues. What's one common pitfall they should try to avoid?
I'd say, don't get stuck on trying to translate every single word into your native language. Try to understand the meaning from the context. Sometimes a direct translation just won't make sense, and it can slow you down. Immerse yourself in the English.
That's excellent advice. It's about thinking in English, even if it's just for a few sentences at a time. What about dealing with accents? Because English has so many different ones.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one. My advice would be to start with dialogues that have clear, standard pronunciation, like what you'd typically find in learning materials. Once you're comfortable there, then you can slowly introduce dialogues with different accents. Exposure is key, but don't overwhelm yourself at the very beginning.
That's a smart strategy. Build a strong foundation first, and then, as you get more confident, you can explore the wonderful variety of English accents out there. It's like going from learning basic chords to then playing more complex songs.
Perfect analogy, Sam! And remember, consistency is much more important than intensity. 20 minutes a day practicing a few dialogues is way better than trying to do 3 hours once a week.
Completely agree. Little and often, that's the mantra. So, if you're a beginner feeling a bit overwhelmed by grammar rules or vocabulary lists, dive into these easy English dialogues. They really are a game changer.
They truly are. They give you the practical tools you need to actually use English in real-life situations, which, let's be honest, is why most of us are learning the language in the first place, right? To communicate.
Exactly. To connect with people, to navigate new environments, to experience the world more fully. And these dialogues are your stepping stone to doing just that.
So grab some dialogues, listen, repeat, role-play, and start speaking English with confidence. You've got this.
That's all for today's episode. A big thank you for tuning in and learning with us.
Yes, thank you. And remember, keep practicing, keep speaking, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey, Emily, have you ever thought about how different textbook English is from, actual English people speak?
Oh my gosh, Sam, all the time. It's like you learn all these perfect grammar rules, and then you step out into the real world, and suddenly everyone's talking a mile a minute with slang and idioms you've never heard of. It can be super intimidating for beginners, right?
Exactly. That's why I've been thinking so much about the concept of real-life English conversations for beginners. It's not just about learning words. It's about learning how people actually interact, the rhythm, the pauses, the unspoken cues.
Totally. I remember when I first started learning Spanish, I felt like I could conjugate any verb perfectly, but then if someone asked me about my weekend plans in a casual way, I'd freeze up. It's that conversational fluency that's so hard to get from just books.
Right? And English is full of those little quirks. Like, we don't always say, I am going to the store. Sometimes it's, I'm going to the store. Or wanna instead of want to. Those informal contractions are everywhere.
And the intonation, too. A simple really can mean so many different things depending on how you say it. Is it surprise, sarcasm, disbelief? Beginners often miss those nuances, which can make conversations a bit baffling.
That's a huge point. So, when we talk about 100 real-life English conversations for beginners, we're really talking about equipping someone not just with vocabulary, but with the practical tools to navigate everyday situations confidently.
Absolutely. Think about how many common scenarios beginners encounter: ordering coffee, asking for directions, making small talk about the weather, meeting new people. These aren't complex academic discussions. They're the bread and butter of daily interaction.
Let's take ordering coffee as an example. A textbook might teach you, I would like a coffee, please, which is perfectly correct. But in real life, you're more likely to hear, can I get a coffee? Or I'll have a coffee, or even just coffee, please, with a quick smile.
And then the follow-up questions, for here or to go, anything else for you, name for the order. These aren't just single sentences, they're rapid-fire exchanges that require quick comprehension and even quicker responses. You don't have time to translate in your head.
Exactly. It's about building that muscle memory for common phrases and responses. Imagine a beginner trying to figure out for here or to go for the first time. They might know for and here and to and go individually, but together, it's a specific question that needs a specific type of answer.
And the fear factor is real. I think a lot of beginners get so worried about making mistakes that they just avoid speaking. But with these real-life scenarios, the stakes feel a bit lower because everyone expects you to be a bit hesitant if you're learning.
It's a safe space to fail forward. If you mess up your coffee order, the worst that happens is you get the wrong drink, and you learn from it. It's not like you're giving a TED Talk in front of thousands.
And it builds confidence. Each small victory, like successfully ordering food or asking for directions and actually getting a helpful response, that's huge. It makes you want to try more.
Absolutely. Let's talk about small talk for a minute. That's probably one of the trickiest things for non-native speakers because it often seems pointless. Like, why are we talking about the weather?
Right? But it's actually incredibly important socially. It's a way to connect, to show politeness, to break the ice. And English-speaking cultures, especially in places like the UK or parts of the US, are really big on small talk.
So, conversations about how's your day going, or crazy weather, huh? Or got any plans for the weekend? These aren't just filler, they're essential social lubricants. And a beginner needs to know how to not just understand them, but how to respond in a natural, friendly way.
Yeah, like not just saying yes when someone asks how are you, but maybe adding, I'm good thanks, and you. That little bit of extra conversational effort goes a long way.
That's a classic one. The reciprocal question is vital. If you just say fine, it can sound a bit abrupt or even rude. It's not intended that way, but culturally it's perceived differently.
Another common scenario that's really useful for beginners is asking for clarification, because even if you're advanced, you're going to encounter new words or confusing accents. So knowing phrases like, could you repeat that? Or could you speak a bit slower? Or what does word mean? Is invaluable.
Absolutely. Not being afraid to say, I don't understand, or can you explain, is a sign of a strong learner, not a weak one. It shows you're engaged and genuinely want to learn.
And it makes the native speaker more likely to help you out. If you just nod along, they might think you understand, and then the confusion just compounds.
So, these 100 real-life conversations really cover everything from the basic greetings to apologies, expressing opinions, giving compliments, and even navigating slight disagreements. It's the full spectrum of human interaction.
And it's important to present them in a way that feels natural, not rigid. So maybe not just a script, but also different ways to say the same thing, or common responses you might hear.
Yeah, like variations. If someone asks, how was your weekend? You could say, it was great, or pretty good actually, or relaxing thanks, depending on your mood and who you're talking to. It adds depth and realism.
And what about the cultural context that comes with some of these conversations? Like, talking about personal finances with a stranger is generally a no-go in English-speaking cultures, but talking about the weather is always safe.
Oh, that's crucial. Understanding those unwritten rules of social interaction is just as important as the words themselves. It prevents awkward situations and helps beginners blend in more naturally.
So a beginner going through these conversations would not only learn phrases but also get a feel for the rhythm of English, the common sentence structures, and the appropriate social etiquette. It's like a complete immersion without leaving your home.
Exactly. And it's not just about memorizing. It's about listening and repeating, then trying to adapt what you've heard to your own situation. Active practice is key.
I think one of the biggest benefits is the reduction of anxiety. If you feel like you have a toolkit of responses for common situations, you're much less likely to panic when someone speaks to you.
Totally. That feeling of, oh, I've heard this before, I know how to respond, is priceless for a beginner. It's like having a little cheat sheet in your head, but a very natural one.
And it helps them move beyond just, hi, how are you, I'm fine, thank you, to actually having short, meaningful exchanges, like introducing a friend. Hey Sam, this is Emily. Emily, Sam, simple but so important for social interaction.
Or describing their day. Instead of just, my day was good, they can say, my day was a bit hectic, but good, or it was pretty chill, actually. Adding those little descriptive words really elevates their English.
We should also emphasize that these conversations are a starting point, not the end goal. They give you the foundation, but then it's up to the learner to go out and use them, make them their own.
Absolutely. It's like learning the basic chords on a guitar. You learn C, G, and D, and suddenly you can play a bunch of simple songs. These conversations are those basic chords for English communication.
That's a great analogy, and consistency is key. Even 5 minutes a day of listening to or practicing these kinds of conversations can make a huge difference over time.
Definitely. It's all about creating a habit. Imagine a beginner listening to these conversations on their commute or while doing chores. It's passive learning becoming active skill building.
So to recap, for anyone out there struggling with moving from textbook English to real-life English, focusing on actual conversational scenarios is a game changer. It builds confidence, introduces natural phrasing, and teaches cultural nuances.
And it makes the whole learning process much more enjoyable and less stressful. You're learning English that you can actually use immediately.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to jump in, listen to how people actually speak, and practice those real-life scenarios. You'll be amazed at how quickly your confidence grows.
Thanks for joining us, everyone, on this dive into real-life English for beginners. Keep practicing, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye for now.